The Kinky Cocktail Hour is brought to you by Motorbunny, the world's most powerful saddle-style vibrator that offers fabulous, creative sexual experiences. We use it and it rotates, it vibrates, and it delivers mind-blowing orgasms. Enjoy Motorbunny as your favorite sex toy. When you order the Motorbunny, multiple attachments are included along with the Link controller, which allows wireless control from anywhere. Motorbunny is the world's most powerful saddle-style vibrator on Earth. Use the link in the show notes and spice up your sex life with a Motorbunny. You're listening to Kinky Cocktail Hour, a conversation between adults about sex-forward relationships, kinky lifestyles, and frank communication. If you're under 18, please stop listening and visit scarletteen.com. Hi, this is Lady Petra.
I'm SafferMaster.
And this is Kinky Cocktail Hour.
Cheers.
Cheers!
So what are we drinking today?
A Whisky Sour, and this time you made it.
I did.
So you can explain what you came up with.
Well, a Whisky Sour is, the way I make it is 2 shots of whiskey, 1 shot of lemon juice, egg white. Shake it up all together. Drop some ice in, shake it up with the ice, pour it through a sieve.
Voila.
Voila.
Look how, it's all intermixed here still. Like as yours is starting to settle, you can see it start to settle. But it's amazing how the proteins keep it mixed.
Yeah.
From the egg white.
Yeah. And it's really just a sour whiskey.
It's great.
I love it.
I love it. It's great. And you used Black Label?
I used Johnny Walker Black Label.
Okay. I
Because
like it.
that was exactly the right amount. Now, actually, it's got slightly more whiskey in than we would ordinarily have, just because I wasn't going to leave like that tiny bit in the bottle.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I put it in.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Anyway, we're sitting in the afterglow of,
Of
What
hot sex.
I don't know how else to describe it.
I don't know what to say. That's our thing, and I was thinking about this last night when we were acknowledging the day yesterday, recapping and doing acknowledgement to one another. I was real present to the idea that we're real present in the moment, so we're really enjoying each other and experience it fully. And and when we're in that and we get done, we're like, that was fucking hot.
Yeah.
Or while we're in it, we're saying that, but what have you. And then we go into the next day and we do a scene again, and we're like, that was fucking hot.
Yeah.
And it's like, it sounds repetitive, but what I'm clear on is we're very present in the moment we're in, and even when we're in bed, we're after the point, but it's still the same day at least. But the past doesn't exist, so like we keep creating hotness in the day we're in.
In the moment we're in.
In the moment we're in. Because the past doesn't exist. Yes, they were hot, and we try to chronicle it and remember it, right? And we know cumulatively, wow, it just keeps getting hotter. But that's really what's happening. I mean, like, we're really present. It's beyond, I need to have an orgasm.
Oh, no. It's way
That's
beyond
not
that.
the goal. Like, I remember vanilla sex being that is the goal.
Yeah.
That's the end all.
Yeah.
And whether it took a long time or a little time, in the end,
You had an orgasm.
you had an orgasm,
And
right?
it was over, yeah.
And it's so not, that is not the focus, like, ever. I mean, believe me, I'm having lots and lots of orgasms. There's no doubt on that. But that's not the focus of it. I'm not fixated on that. It's just happening. It's the whole process, everything, the whole
It's a full experience.
Yeah,
It's so we're very fortunate because we have our 24/7 dynamic, and we actually are stuck at home inside of our dynamic.
Yeah.
So we get to be very present on a day-to-day basis to creating our dynamic. And the way we do that is we relate the experience of our scenes to, like, giving you time to get ready and me coming back from taking the dog out.
Which is all the foreplay.
It's all the foreplay. And then we have a scene, and because your cast is on, we're starting it differently than we would ordinarily start
different
it.
direction, yeah.
But it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's still
right?
fucking hot.
And, we've evolved to where we get into a space of our kink, like a kink space. You get into subspace, I get into dom space, really kind of quickly.
Like really quickly.
Yeah, really quickly.
Like it's happening faster and faster.
Yeah. And then we engage in what only can be described as like time travel because like now we're sitting here and it's hours later and it's hard to believe any time has passed.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm just as shaky and weak as I was at the end of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm present to, like earlier on when we were first playing the first 6 months, I started to have organisms that were bigger than I had ever before.
Yeah.
And I noticed, I was telling you, I felt, I wasn't in a dissociative state. I was aware of what's happening, but I felt disconnected a little bit and a little spacey. I kept telling you, I felt kind of spacey. And then we talked about subspace and things like that. And
well,
then,
actually, let's just stop for a second.
Yeah.
So today our topic is the space we get into in kink, subspace and dom space.
Correct.
And some conversation about aftercare. Okay,
yes,
go on.
Yes. So I didn't try to understand it, I just let it happen. And then over time I've connected with things that are like during high protocols when we use chains, that's a super cue, like just the sound of it. It's a hypnotic cue for me almost. When I'm sitting there waiting for you to come home and I'm holding my collar and I'm in a right now with my cast, a revised now-do position, that creates a semi-hypnotic state. And the only thing I can equate it to at this level where I'm at now, where I can get into it quickly, is just like with my athletics. I literally could go from putting my spikes on the side of the track to as soon as I walked to the line. Like as soon as I walked to the line, my heart rate quickened. My whole physiology started changing.
Right.
Not just for excitement. Like literally I was getting into a zone while I'm standing there listening to instructions from you. And you get this tunnel vision. Like there's 30 athletes beside you because it's a waterfall start. And it's a tunnel. I see my run out. I see my run back. I know, I'm not fixated on who said they were the fastest ranked coming in, or none of that matters because on any given day anything can happen. So you always leave that so open, and so it's almost like everything's slow motion. The gun goes off and everything's slow motion, and that's what it feels like when I get into subspace. I mean, now with oral, you can get. I mean, I speak in tongues all the time. I don't even know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I just know I am communicating something. Obviously.
Yeah. Joy.
Because I'm not telling you, I'm not putting any limits or safety words in there.
Yeah.
But I can't control it. It literally,
sounds like gibberish, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's related to a genetic memory that you have. Some sounds you made genetically thousands of years ago.
Maybe.
I think it's accessing something like that. That's what I think.
That's crazy.
I may be wrong, but that's how it comes from nowhere, and it sounds like nothing. So it has to have some origin, right?
Well, yeah, and I've tried to listen over time because it feels like I'm listening to this other person saying this stuff.
Right.
And so, like, I'm listening to myself without understanding, and I hear similar patterns of gibberish come out.
Yeah.
Similar patterns over and over in certain situations. And I'm like, what is that? So anyway, we had interviewed the Nebraska's hypnotist, NA hypnotist, and he did a little hypnosis, very light, just kind of to demonstrate to the audience what it was with me, suggestibility, if you will, and then we asked him questions, and he said, yes, he believes people can get in hypnotic states all the time. People fall in and out of hypnotic states all the time.
He said several times a day.
Yeah. And I think that's true. Now that I've experienced this, I think that's what's happening. I think...
Well, anytime you get super focused on something, where you're not aware of what's going on around you.
You lose track of everything.
You're in a hypnotic state.
Well, think about it. When you drive and you all of a sudden you went from one exit and now you're 30 miles down the road because it's the same pattern. You're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
What just happened?
Yeah. No, that we do get in hypnotic states all the time. I think the more interesting thing for me is that, like, I've watched your experience in subspace progress over time. Mm-hmm. I've watched you get into subspace faster, and I've watched you go deeper and stay there longer and take longer to recover. Like, I've watched that happen. Mm-hmm. And I've, like you talk about your experiences, quote, being suggestible, mm-hmm. like more suggestible. But there's definitely a transition you make to subspace that makes you super interested in whatever is next. Like
primal. Like, I get
primal.
This really hardcore. I remember reading on FetLife about primal and prey, and I was always like, what is
that?
A deer and a lion, or what are they doing there? What's going on there?
Right.
And I never really got answers per se, but the word primal comes up for me tremendously in what we're up to. And then I guess someone might say to me, well, then because you're submissive, that's prey. You're acting like prey. And I'm like, well, but it doesn't feel that way. It feels primal.
Well, I think
I'm still
primal and prey denotes hunter and hunted. Mm-hmm. Primal in our play, to me, just denotes at our most raw animal nature.
Yeah, it's very animalistic. I feel very animalistic.
Yeah. So
raw.
Yeah. The thing that I think is most interesting about the notion of hypnosis, of subspace being a hypnotic state, is the alteration in brain chemistry that occurs.
But what's amazing is it's not like you're sitting there swinging a watch in front of me.
No.
And we don't talk a ton during scening.
No.
We've got great music on, and there's just a whole, and that creates a hypnotic state too.
Yes.
The music is very great,
and it's loud.
And
Yeah.
it's. But what I think is amazing is me understanding what we're getting into, and me with the presence of you, obviously, but even before you arrive home, putting myself in that subjectable area to be receptive to the beginning of subspace, like the beginning of the entrance to it. It's like I'm right at the door of subspace when you come home, just waiting for you to help me turn the key so I can access it. And that's what it feels like, because like before we'd play and I'd be all in my head and a lot of concern about whatever. I was in the moment for sure, but I was a lot of concern about what is actually happening, right? I don't know. Things like vanilla sex people, I think, often do, who don't get into subspace. I would worry about things like, am I doing this right? Am I supposed to be here? What are my feet? Oh, my knee hurts, whatever. Okay, so I might come up after a scene now, bruised or something, and not know, because I have a bruise here even. I don't even know how I got that. I think it's from laying on my leg.
That's right.
I don't know. That is not even my construct when I'm in it. Those kinds of things aren't in my construct. It's all about the scene and where we're in the scene. It's just bizarre. For me, it's really bizarre because I can drop. I can feel it. And then when I feel it, I feel this. It's like, when you get adrenaline, mm-hmm. you're not in a fight or flight zone. Like someone scares you or surprises you. You're sitting, let's say, or something, mm-hmm. and you get that shock through your system. That whole
rush.
Fuck! I just felt a huge rush, and my heart's racing. And then you wait for it to go down. That rush, that's what subdrop feels like for me. It's like an elevator going down, but I'm not going to die. But all of a sudden it goes to the bottom, and then I'm in.
Interesting.
And then I'm like, it's like the Matrix. Then I'm in access. I have access to, I guess if we would talk about it, is the rabbit hole.
Right. So
it's like it's like Alice in Wonderland. It really is like Alice in Wonderland. Like you open it, drink the big bottle, drink the little bottle, take the red pill, take the blue pill, whatever, and you do. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're going through the door and you're now in someplace else.
Right.
Now I'm aware. If your phone rang or you told me, you said there's an emergency. We're having a fire.
Right.
all of that's in my awareness. I'm not touched out of the world, but what I am is, it's almost like there's a, like when you fog up the mirror in a shower, it's like that. I'm on the other side because I'm in subspace, but all I have to do is go like this, and I can see and get right back.
I see. Yeah. So that's interesting, and it's interesting because where I stand, like
Because you're in the Dom space.
Yeah, I am. Now, Dom space and subspace are different.
They're totally, but you should explain that.
Yeah, I'm not feeling like a drop in a rabbit hole the way you do.
Right.
Right? But I get sort of animal-like.
Yes.
Like, I get very directive in Dom space.
I think yesterday's a great example. Today was too, but yesterday, whatever it was your trigger, or wherever you went, there was a point where you are flogging me and you're stroking your cock, and you're just...
I was flogging you hard. And
you're flogging me really hard, and you were super aroused, and you're
I was stroking my cock because I wanted to fuck you.
Right. But even just the fact that, yes, you want to fuck me, but the whole point is you're still stroking your cock while you're flogging me.
Yeah.
Like, beyond the next moment that you want to do something, I'm just talking about that instantaneous moment in time is fucking hot. And I totally missed it. So we have to film that sometime. Because it is hot.
Yeah.
Because it's so dommy. It's like you, in your domminess, getting sexual gratification while you're in that sadistic, that whole mode all at once. Like all together, all at once.
Yeah. Like you're super sexy. I'm fucking your ass. It's really pink. I'm getting aroused. I'm hitting you harder. You're like groaning with
and you're hitting me harder lately, a lot harder lately, and I'm not complaining at all. What I'm recognizing, and you told me this would happen, but God, you never want to admit that to a sadist, but it's like, I try to push my butt towards you.
Yeah.
I try to drop my cast lower so it's not in the way. I had this thing going today. I don't know what it was. It was like a huge turn on though. I was the music was going, you were flogging. Somehow it was all connected, this energy. And I was just like pushing my butt back with the music or whatever it was, with the strokes or whatever it was. I can't remember the timing because I'm in subspace, so I don't remember as much. But it was hugely arousing, like hugely. And then as I built like that, my contribution to the whole flogging part, when you were going harder, it changed the way I experienced harder. Isn't that weird? It's like my participation and experience in the flogging, instead of just only being a receiver and only being passive, but my participation in whatever I was doing changed the whole way that experience evolved for me.
So interesting.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, so I have one foot in reality when I'm in a dom space, because I have to pay attention to how you're doing. Like my concern is for your well-being.
Is that a bad thing? Is there a place that a dom can ever be where they aren't worried about concern?
No, because you're submissive to me, and I'm responsible for what I do to you, and I get pretty aggressive, and so what I do has an impact that goes beyond its impact, potentially.
Sure. And
I need to be present to how you're doing.
So because you have that level of responsibility like that...
I have to be two-headed about it.
Yeah, how does that affect...
No, I keep one part of my awareness on your well-being.
It's a Gemini.
Yeah, but I keep one part of my awareness on your well-being, and it's kind of like, imagine like it's a slightly open portal that I can see through, and if you get into trouble, that portal gets bigger so I can see more of you. Think of it like that.
Okay.
But I just have a very limited component of my awareness on you and on your well-being all the time.
And I have to be responsible too.
You do,
but if it gets out of control, I have to say...
I'm aggressive, and I know I'm aggressive, and I know that I'm a sadist, and I know that you're submissive, and I'm responsible for that, 100%.
Right.
I can't.
But I have to be responsible too.
I can't let you be responsible for my actions in that regard because I'm the one taking action. So I have to be responsible. So that doesn't matter. My point is that I have that two-headedness about me where I'm at the same time as I'm monitoring your well-being, I'm also fucking letting the Kraken out.
Yes, you are.
You know?
Yeah.
Because I'm a sadist. And so, like, I'm flogging you with a lot of force, with a heavy flogger, hundreds of times.
I know.
Right? And it's, like, incredibly arousing. So
what does that feel like for you as a sadist or a dom even?
deeply satisfying.
Like you know you're increasing your intensity. And from regular intensity to increasing, do you experience something like in Subspace, like when you change things, the intensity goes up. I experience if you will, a deeper drop.
Exactly.
Unless it's moving me to an unsafe zone, I might come up a little bit in my awareness.
Yeah.
But if it's more intense, but I've been warmed up in a way where I'm receptive to it, and my masochisty is grabbing onto that, I might drop deeper.
Sure.
Where do you go?
I'm going deeper also, and what's happening is, like I'm moving from like a wrist motion to an arm motion to a shoulder motion to a trunk motion to a full body motion, and like at the end when I'm flogging you with all of my force, it's like deeply arousing to be present to that experience of delivering impact to a body that's pulling for that impact.
Yeah, it feels so energetic.
It's crazy, right? So like I have to keep my awareness very two-headed because I've really got to keep an eye on how you're doing, right? And I'm listening to you, and I'm trying to listen to you over the music, and so.
Well, I guess I would say this because I've thought about this a few times during Subspace. Like, I hope he thinks I'm okay because I am okay. I just make sounds. I'm a very verbal
I understand
player.
Your sounds. I've been playing with you every day for a couple of years. I understand your sounds.
And so for me, it's like I'm very aware that if it was beyond what I could do, and you've seen this before in different scenarios, and I can't help it. It just happens. If it's way beyond what I understand, even I'm not even saying it's beyond what I can handle, but I'm just brought out of something. You'll see me pull my bass in, or I'll skirt away. Yeah, I have an actual primal reaction to
physical response.
Yeah, physical response, and I'm not doing that. I'm like leaning into you, trying to give you more of my ass. I'm like, yes.
No, you're all in. I get it. Yeah. So as you're getting deeper into your subspace, I'm getting deeper into my dom space, and so this is where the rabbit hole takes a turn. Like we don't know how this is going to turn out.
We'd never know.
And see, if I'd said to you 2 years ago, in a couple of years, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to be flogging you with all of my force every day for hundreds of strokes, and fuck you, fuck your ass, fuck your throat in between. You would have gone, really?
No, I know.
Yeah.
Well, even today, you were flogging me hard. And I was like, yeah, we can keep going.
Yeah.
And it was weird that I say that, but I was experiencing it in a whole different way.
Right. So this is a conversation about subspace. And so, it's a hypnotic state. Your brain chemistry gets altered in the experience of being in subspace. And as long as I can play my role as a dom and keep you sexually aroused through that experience, because it's in that arousal that your subspace exists. When you get out of being aroused, then the subspace disappears.
So I have never experienced that. When I drop into subspace in our scenes, I'm there the whole time until you put me to aftercare.
Yes, but that's because I'm intentional about keeping you in a high state of arousal.
I think for sure. But like a high state of arousal is all kinds of things, even me doing things to you.
Yes.
Because me doing cock worship is hugely arousal for me. So
it is.
So it is not downtime.
No.
It's not about me being on a continual orgasm nonstop for 2 hours.
No.
Arousal is arousal.
Yes. However, if I were to do something that would take you outside of your pain experience, maybe scare you, then what will happen is you'll come out of subspace really fast, and you'll experience what's called sub-drop.
Oh, I get it. Okay.
Okay? So the sub-drop that you experience, because I'm committed to keeping you in a high state of arousal, the sub-drop you experience is after we're done, and you drop out of subspace, and now your brain's got all that chemistry. Well, like
even occurring. Yesterday, our play was intense yesterday. And and I was complaining to you way after, we played at 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And or maybe earlier, because we were supposed to have an interview that day, but we changed
from 2 till 4. Right.
2 to 4.
Right.
Okay. And then we had dinner, right? And we're now into TV time and before bed. And so it's like
several hours
7
later.
or 8 now.
Yeah.
3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, oh my God, I'm still shaky. And my arms are killing me. It feels like I did 1,000 push-ups.
Yeah, it's funny.
And they were hurting. And so I finally took Tylenol. Now, granted, I'm recovering on my leg too. So there's a double pain there that I don't always discern. But it was incredible how long it lasted.
Yeah, sub-drop yesterday was intense because subspace was deep and intense.
That's one thing I do notice. If I shift into a drop really quickly, it's longer for me to get out.
Oh, interesting.
If I drop slowly, I get out quicker. Isn't that weird?
I think that is interesting. I would argue that if you have a light subspace experience, you don't experience sub-drop.
And I don't really experience sub-drop very often.
No, but if you have a deep experience, like yesterday, it takes you a long time to recover because there's a ton of chemistry occurring in our bodies.
Well, and everyone experiences sub-drop differently. Some people get very, it's a more of a mental, emotional thing for them. Some people get physical, fatigue. The
first response that I've experienced with a sub after intense play is there's a physical, almost like you go into shock.
Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like.
So you wrap somebody in a blanket, you cuddle. There's holding. There's rest. I usually wrap you up in a blanket,
which is huge. That rest period. Is I'll say this. All the years I've had sex, not just kinky sex, but sex, I'm a pleaser, so I put my whole self into it. Whether my partner is or not, it doesn't matter. The reality is that's what I do. I don't ever recall falling into any type of subspace before I met you. However, the energy is still expelled, and after that, I'm usually wiped. I'm useless, basically. Generally, now we play differently, but generally in the past, it was obviously at night before you went to bed, so you could just pass out and go to sleep, right? And there's no aftercare. It's just people are passing out. Is what's happening. What happens now is if we play midday or morning, whatever. Do you recognize? I go into subspace when we're in the morning. You just have me suck your cock.
Yeah.
Because what happens right afterwards? We're like, yeah, and I'm out.
We nap, right?
You're usually okay, but I'm napping.
Yeah.
Does Dom space give you that fatigue like that, or do you fight that? Because I know you don't like to take naps. But, so I'm just wondering if you're fighting it.
No, it's not the same. It's
Are
different.
you more amped?
It's more amped, yeah. I'm more up. I want to sit down and have a whiskey.
That's what I mean. Talk about that.
So after we scene, an intense scene, a marking scene or a protocol scene, while you're on the couch asleep, I'm sitting here with a stiff whiskey, reading my book and just relaxing afterwards, just calming down, because I get pretty fucking amped.
So because of that, I'm curious, because we enjoy whiskey so much. because your experience of the world in that heightened state is all different.
Yeah.
So everything you're doing at that point is different than you would do normally.
Yeah.
Do you experience the whiskey different? I mean, I'm curious.
I mean,
all these things
everything's
is different.
more intense.
More
right?
intense. Okay.
So the flavors are more intense. The aromas are more
God,
intense.
they should do a study on this.
Maybe they should. Yeah. But also the way the whiskey hits me is more intense. I mean, I really
Faster?
Yeah.
So it helps you drop down
I suppose
relax.
I suppose it does. I mean, I just enjoy.
I think it's fantastic
I
when you have a
enjoy-
whiskey afterwards.
I know. I enjoy the time because I'm watching you snooze on the couch, and I'm feeling really kind of, like I conquered the world.
You did.
Right? I did. I had this huge conquest. I have to blow my horn.
Yeah, but let me speak to that, because I'm going to speak to that. So what is it you have up there?
It's a ram's horn.
It doesn't look like a regular ram's horn. Is it a
No, it's
special?
a ram's horn. No, it's just a big.
It's a huge fucking horn. Okay.
Yeah.
So he has this thing that's probably 2 feet,
2.5 feet.
2.5 feet long, curled horn,
Yeah.
ram's horn.
Yeah.
And after we have our scene or protocols, and pretty much every time he says that's hot, it's time to blow the horn, he blows this horn right afterwards, naked in front of the window, pretty much.
Yeah.
He's back a little bit, but the reality is he blows it until he gets that great sound, that bellowing sound out of it.
Yeah, like I'm trying to signal to the world that
he just conquest.
I fucked
Yes.
my slut, right?
And it's another primal. It's our thing, but it's so primal.
It's fun.
We're God. I don't know how to explain it to people.
We're children.
We are children. We literally have created whatever we've created that works for us.
Yeah.
And I want to remind our listeners, each of you has the ability to create your own circumstances and experiences that become your touchstone, if you will, in your play.
Yeah. So subspace is deeply satisfying for you because I can keep you in a state of arousal, and I can do things to you that are different than you've experienced historically, and that take you to places that are new for you.
And I want that, and I want you to feel like you're moving in a direction the same way as well. Do you see what I'm saying?
I can't take you there without going there.
Right, but you know what I'm saying.
We're on this. It's kind of like we're on the same train track.
Right.
We're going there together.
Right.
Right. Now, what happens in the experience of our sex is what happens. We fuck, we suck, we eat, what we do, we flog, we do things. That's just the actual play. But then what happens afterwards is the experience of recovering from our sexual dynamic scenes, which is sub-drop.
This is key, because you've told me this, but I just want to remind the listeners. After play, in sub-care, dom care, if you will. Dom care might have to be the doms caring for themselves at the point, because the sub is out of commission.
Right.
But I think the dom needs to create a situation that they have their own protocols they follow for their own care.
Right.
And then, of course, we have further care because we nuzzle and do all the things we're doing. And our circumstances are a little weird right now just because my leg is healing. If my leg wasn't healing, there'd be different interactions happening with cooking and different things like that. Anyway. But I think it's important that there's nothing ever wrong.
Ever.
And that's the key. In a sub-drop or anything like that, in fact, there's been a few times you thought I was really spacey, still, longer than what the scene might have initiated, but, it's all subjective, right? And so I was still kind of spacey, lethargic, and you prompted me, let's go on a walk.
Right.
And then we go on a walk together out in the fresh air, in the sunlight, and have let's just say it's a third through our walk on the way to the end location. You're checking in with me to see how I'm doing. If I had any problems along the way, you would certainly say something. But generally, I'm a little stumbly. I mean, these are real things for subs. I'm stumbly. It's almost as if I've been drinking.
Right. I hold your hand.
Like I'm buzzed.
Right. I hold your hand and we walk really close.
That's exactly what it feels like. That's probably the best analogy. Is when I go into public, when I have to be on more high alert, like people are watching me.
Yeah, you feel a little buzzed.
I feel like I'm buzzed.
Right.
Although haven't drank anything.
Right.
But I'm swarming with hormones right then.
Yeah.
In different types of released chemicals in my brain. And so, in fact, this reminds me on another side junk is this hypnosis thing you sent me today.
Yeah.
Was about the types of the brain. I'm gonna post that for sure. But we walk and you check in and I really can tell you definitively that I feel better.
Yeah. And I just the way I check in, I just go, how you feeling?
Yeah.
Still feeling a little spacey.
Yeah.
And I can tell by how hard you're holding my hand.
Yeah, if I'm using it for support.
If you're hanging on for dear life, then I know that you're trying to stay upright, right? Now, and then I'll take you to, like, when we used to, remember restaurants that were cool? We used to have those.
Yeah, we used to do those, right?
Yeah. I would walk you to a restaurant and we'd go have something to eat. It didn't have to be like a big meal, but we'd go have a snack.
And it wouldn't even have to be extravagant. It just could be something to fill my belly, to pass the time, to create a new circumstance, those kinds of things.
Right. Because when you first started experiencing Subspace with me,
it was new for me.
It was new for you. You didn't really have a context for it.
See, and that's where I'm at now. I'm not saying I'm a pro at Subspace. I'm not at all saying that. However, when we talked about our chronology last night, about how often we've had sex.
Right.
Fucking a lot of times, right? And so I'm more in tune with my subspace. Like I'm actually aware that I'm not fully recovered out of subspace because I'm falling a lot deeper.
Right.
But what I'm aware of is I know where I'm at,
right.
And I'm able to tell you I'm okay to get up now.
Yeah.
And where I'm telling you I'm okay to get up at and move around and do stuff is probably way beyond where I used to be when we go on walks.
So you're more familiar with the experience.
So what I'm saying to you, yes, it's like when you drink your first beer or 2 beers or whatever, you're like, fuck, this is amazing, And then you're like, you start to figure it out, or if you're smoking pot, you start to figure it out, right? You start to figure out the lay of the land, and you're like, okay, I get what I'm able to do and what I'm not able to do during this place. What I do find is as I've learned, if I'm in sub-drop or aftercare-ish phase, if I rest a little bit and then I do move into that moving around and actually functioning, I don't get this, maybe you correct me on this, but I don't experience sub-drop as much of a emotional, mental drop. Like I start to think negatively or depression. Yeah. I definitely feel it way more as a physical.
Yeah. Now I've had experiences with subs where it's been an emotional release.
Oh yeah, they start crying and all kinds of. No, I totally get that. I'm not judging. I'm just saying I've started to figure out where I'm at, and and I think my context, the only thing I can bring it to is it's very similar to my athletic career.
Sure.
I never blubbered after a race if I lost it or won it or anything. I literally dealt with where I was in the moment, and it feels, I mean, part of me, it's bittersweet. It's like you give me access to something I don't have access to. Because of my surgery, I'm not going to be able to ever run again. And I have access, it's emotional. But I have access to this whole feeling I had when I ran.
Yeah.
That I never will get again. But I get it every day.
In this context.
I don't know why that's so emotional for me, but
it moves you because
it's
you're realizing
so profound to be because people talk about, especially during COVID, you hear this a lot. The runners are like all up in arms about wearing masks or if they can run or what have you, and it's part of it because they're addicted to the endorphins.
Sure.
For runner's high, and when you're a seasoned runner, you can which I'm assuming is a sub drop. The reality is we all talked about this. You could move into runner's high
Yeah.
on cue about 3 miles in.
Right. No, they're definitely...
so you know how to do it. So that's what I'm saying. I have an identity. I can identify when you come in.
Yeah.
I can move into subdrop because... Subspace, excuse me. Because I understand what that scenario is going to lead to.
Yeah. No, for sure. It's interesting. It occurs to me from a physiological standpoint. Like, there's a lot happening physiologically.
Yeah.
So... Like, if you think about just the body's capacity to respond to training. So, like, if you take fat metabolism, just fat metabolism,
sure,
right? So if you're, like, deconditioned, out of shape, and you start exercising, the enzymes that would be needed to turn stored triglycerides into free-floating fatty acids, they never get stimulated because the cells that make them go, I would do it, but she's just going to sit down again.
No,
right?
That's what I.
But
that's
then,
exactly right.
But then, if you're in decent condition, it takes about 30 minutes to get those fatty acids floating.
That's right.
But if you're an experienced, seasoned athlete, you just have to think about training, and the free fatty acids are floating. And this is the same thing in subspace for an experienced or a seasoned participant in high kink scenarios. My frame of reference is based on based on watching the change in the way you both experience subspace and the way you recover from subspace, and the transitions that you've made over the course of the last couple of years. And what I've noticed is you get into subspace faster, you stay there longer, you go deeper, and you recover faster. All of those things are true.
It's like a conditioned athlete.
You're becoming conditioned, right? And the thing
I feel that way.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's crazy, but it feels sex is an athletic event. It feels like an athlete's training.
It is.
It's disciplined.
Yes.
I have to be a participant in my subspace progression experience.
For sure. Absolutely.
That's no different than when I was an athlete. And so the reality is I'm all in because I know how wonderful it is.
Yeah.
And that's why your premier athletes get in, because they all know it.
Yeah.
They experience the euphoria.
Yeah.
It's addictive. It's more addictive. That's why people do it. It's more addictive than any drug on the market because you don't have the nasty after effects.
Right.
It's absolutely internalized addiction, and you will do it.
Yeah.
If people can get in touch with that part of it, and you don't have to be an experienced athlete to get in touch with that.
No.
It's quite literally changing how you approach it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that
and
as a
you
dom,
help with that.
Of course.
Well, I'm saying I want to note and acknowledge you on. Let's just say you've said you've seen me. We've done a lot of talk about this lately. You see me.
Yes.
But I think, particularly in our high protocol scenes, you saw me way early.
Yeah.
In a way. I mean, I think the first time you probably did it, just maybe because you like it, but not knowing where it would land. And not really caring where it would land because you're the dominant. But you started with the chain. I had no context of a chain ever in my life. Okay?
Yeah.
Other than I can only look back at whenever there were chains around, which is very few times in my life. I was intrigued by them. Play with them and things like that, but nothing sexual. Nothing sexual and nothing major, like beyond short periods of time. But I was always intrigued and never thought about it more. Here you tie, you link the chain. I don't know how long your chain is.
18 feet.
18 feet, and you find the midpoint and you
wrap it
around my neck, and then you padlock it.
Right.
I remember the first time you did it, I was like, "Fuck, this is scary." And now I'm like, oh, yes, please put the chain on me. I mean, it literally, just hearing you, and I know you do this for the effect because you know it drops me. Just hearing you play with the chain because you're trying to find the middle because I coil your chain for you.
Yeah.
Which is just so sexy. I think that's...
You should put a picture of that up too.
It's just an attractive thing. I'll put a
Yeah.
picture of that. But what I'm saying is that whole culmination, when you come to
Yeah.
me with that, I drop. I drop to a level of what we consider high protocols.
Okay, but you started saying about that, something about the way that I help with.
Well, how you help with that is when you first bought the chain, I didn't know it would affect me. And so the very, very first time when I heard the chain, I heard in my head, because I had a lot of chatter still. I was in the moment, but I was a lot of chatter. I heard, oh fuck, what is he going to do with that? Right? That's what I heard. This is a sadist I'm dealing with. Then you did your thing, and we've done several things with the chain with the restraints and different stuff, but generally now on our, protocols now is it's part of chaining me around my neck.
It's part of your
Jewelry, and then you use it to hold me and things like that. Okay. And then there became a point where you would whisper in my ear as I'm going to chain you and I own you. And this is before I was collared. I'm collaring you right now, or somewhere along those lines. That messaging and training, if you will, through messaging, in the state that I was in, that subspace. I was not quite subspace, but I was I was suggestible.
Semi-lucid.
Right? Well, let's be honest. And whether your intention was to have me committed to that or not, or whether you just didn't know if I would be committed to that, or you wanted, I don't know what your intention was. It doesn't matter. When you end up doing that, it sets me off in a certain way. Partly because of, I want to acknowledge, because of your training skills, let's just say. But there's something I didn't know about myself with hearing the chain. And I told you specifically, hearing, not even you, when you wrap it around my neck, that's profound in a way because I know I'm being yours. I'm being owned.
Right.
But the hearing, and who knows where the hell that came from.
Yeah, so on a gradient, over the course of time, I've leveraged your curiosity about your own masochism.
I know. I'm totally transparent, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, what I've done is I've worked with an intention to deepen your masochism. Not because it's better, but because I think it's an exploration. It's like an inquiry. Like where does this go? Right? Like how far can you go?
I don't know. Like lately.
Wait, I'm not done. So my experience of our time through this space is as your dom, as your master, I'm being responsible in every single scene for stretching you a little bit in this direction or that direction. It's an ongoing process, right? So before your surgery,
And I think I pushed you too.
Well, you do.
Because I say that was 650 strokes.
Right. And can we do 1,000? Right.
And then maybe we can get to 1,000 because I think I could go longer.
Right.
Not really knowing, and not really. My intention was not to purposely challenge you. It was an inquiry.
It's not challenging me.
No, but it was an inquiry to a sadist.
It's an invitation.
Yes.
It's an invitation.
Say, I don't know where my limit is.
Right. It's an invitation for me to explore you.
And I'm not willing to go to 3,000. I'm willing to go to 1,000.
Oh, you just said 3,000.
No, but I'm just saying.
No, you just said 3,000.
I did.
No, listen.
But what I'm saying is that 1,000. And I told you this afterwards. It was phenomenal, and it was so close to an endurance event, like I had run a race.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, it took a long time too. No, the point is, this was my point. My point is that as your dom, I'm trying to have you experience the rabbit hole what I call the rabbit hole, with more abandon ongoingly than you normally would experience the world. So I'm stretching, pushing, increasing the intensity, the duration, the
So how does
severity.
that land? And I'm not even talking about us, because I'm in that process of masochism exploration. Let's just say someone's seasoned. Where does it become a push-pull for the dom? Because let's be honest, not everyone's at your level. There's people above you and below you, and I don't mean that hierarchical. I just mean an experience or
Well, first of all,
scening.
as
When
I say
does it
this,
become? Have you ever? Okay, I'm not even saying with me. Have you ever experienced a point where you feel stretched as a dom, and you're having to keep clarity on what's happening?
So there was a sub who I caned 100 times.
Right.
And she, it became like a challenge, right? I said to her one
For
time.
both of you?
Yeah. So what happened was,
Yeah.
I said to her one time, someday you're going to ask me to cane you 100 times.
And did you say that?
And I said it
because
in jest.
Yes.
Completely in jest.
Yes.
Right? But what she took it as was a challenge. And
Of
then,
course, a sub does that.
Right. And then one day she said, I want you to cane me 100 times.
Fuck. Yeah.
And that stopped me in my.
But
in
that's
my
you
tracks.
really having to do it.
Yeah, that's right. I'm really going to have to do this. Like, I had to ask myself, am I somebody who can cane a submissive with a heavy cane 100 times? Like not like tap, tap, tap. I'm talking cane strokes with an intensity level that produces the result that a cane stroke should produce.
So, like, as a, what do you call it? Protective measure, if you will.
Yeah.
As a dom being responsible, the submissive is supposed to count, usually, or something in
She
that.
counted.
But you know how that happens. They can move into subspace and they can miscount or whatever.
No,
did you
she-
keep counting? Or did you make sure she was accurate?
Yes. And she wasn't allowed to move. She had to stay still.
Mm-hmm.
And she
So
had
was
to
it
count.
just 100 strokes, just bam, 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 one after another?
Right.
Or were there breaks?
No breaks.
No breaks. Ugh,
Just 100 strokes.
it's tough.
No, it was great. Like immediately after that, I want to drink whiskey. Yes, I do.
Yeah, so what did that produce for you after? Because you have to worry about her aftercare.
Yeah, so that was just the start of a scene. So,
So that was the start of the scene.
right.
So you were done.
No, I wasn't done.
Yeah.
No,
So then what?
we gave her some time to recover. Then we went on and we played
Well,
for
what
9
does
more
that mean,
hours.
recover? Does she own the aftercare type mode?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we like some cuddling and some stroking and some "you're a good girl" and. That
And
kind of stuff.
then, what, 15 minutes?
I can't remember.
Well, I mean, I'm just
After
saying.
some period of time.
Then you went back into scene.
Yeah.
Oh, I got it. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, so the question was like, do I give a good stretch? Yes, the answer is I do. And you stretch me, you stretch me too. So it's important from a DS dynamic sense to monitor the impact that play has on us.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm the dom and you're the sub, you get aftercare.
Mm-hmm.
I get self-care.
Well, is that fair, really?
Completely.
Well,
Yeah.
then.
No, it's completely fair. It's fine. And I'm not whining.
No, you're not. I don't feel
No.
like you're whining at all. I'm just thinking in a global sense for all DOMs.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
not
it's fine.
Well, I'm thinking in a global sense. So
No,
does it
it's
mean
not-
you do self-care in the immediate moment?
Yes.
Is there then needed to be some type of further care post?
Yes, there's a
because even
debriefing.
you are
No,
having
no,
hormone changes.
Yes, no, there's a debriefing that should occur on scene by scene.
Right.
And we do it in bed at
And we
night.
do it,
We
yeah.
talk about it, right? But there's a debriefing process in
Yeah.
aftercare that's important.
I think so too.
Right,
I
so-
think that's important.
Yeah, so you take care of the important things first, shock and comfort and
Do you
feeding
think-
and rest, and then debriefing.
So subs go through those things you talked about. Do you
Yes.
think DOMs ever go through those? Let's just say
No.
you don't just experience that there could be scenes out there that you don't know what the experience is.
I think there are DOMs who get it in over their head. And I think
maybe
when they
they
get it
have
over their head,
Yeah.
they need to debrief very carefully.
So I'm not promoting this with
Right.
us. I'm just saying there are doms that have different submissives, and they might have a caretaking submissive after to care for them after they've played.
Why not?
I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
It's an option.
I'm just saying that I think submissive.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm thinking. It's just a thought because you've got two people at a heightened state, whatever they're at a heightened state.
If there was another woman here to take care of me after we were done playing, she would come and sit by me while I drink whiskey.
Right.
That's what would happen.
Yeah, exactly.
And she would, just like be
Tell
present.
you it's okay.
Tell me it's okay. Because really, for me,
Yeah.
sitting after we play and having a really good whiskey and just enjoying that experience.
I am so altered state when you do that, but I'm aware you're getting whiskey,
Yeah.
and I'm aware you're reading or whatever you're doing,
Right.
tweeting or whatever, but you're basically just decompressing
Exactly.
from the intensity that was just so intense for however long. And we talked about this before last night even, just my vanilla marriage before us had been, sex all the time. However, I wasn't engaged, so that, sex for one person, basically. And we talked about, what's the average time your play, and depending on where he was in ability to come or not, 30, 45 minutes, somewhere in there. I mean, he could stretch it, but if he stretched it into an hour or whatever, it would always become this dysfunction. And there's really no fault on him. I never think that's a fault of anyone. That's physiology. I'm a physiologist. I get it. However, I would try to make sure that he'd have pleasure, but he'd get despondent and whatever, and he'd have his own issues mentally. We're now playing on an average, an hour or more on an average at a super high intensity, like that nothing I've ever experienced before at high intensity. Generally before, it was me servicing somebody for 45 minutes. Let's be honest. That was me servicing.
Now you're being used.
Now I'm being used, which means I'm part of the process.
Right. No, it's completely different.
It's totally different. And
Yeah.
and so what I'm saying is it's understandable about the position you're put in, and I just worry and make sure
I appreciate your concern. You don't have to be concerned. I'm good. Yeah, no, I'm good. No, the truth is that our scenes are super erotic. They're super hot. They're super intense. They're super fun. I love them. And I can't wait till the next one. Right?
And
I just want to make sure that you're okay to get through it.
I'm super okay, and I want to tell you, just in this process of us having this conversation on our pod with these beautiful whiskey sours, what's great about us having the podcast after a scene is we're usually in that weird space, right? Yeah. And as we get through the topic, I start to feel normal. Like right now, truly, because the alcohol helps you be the uninhibited way, which helps you meet the halfway point of your sub drop. I'm feeling fine right now.
Good.
I mean, I feel buzzed, but I feel fine.
I'm complete.
I am fully complete. That's it for today. You can find us on your favorite podcast directory. We also have an RSS feed. If you're interested in online coaching for Kinksters or online domination, you can visit our Patreon website at Lady Petra Playground. And if you're having comments or suggestions or drink ideas for our podcast, you can email me at ladypetraplayground@gmail.com.
That's it.
That's it.
Cheers.
Cheers.